Hey everybody, today we're going to be looking at page 137 and 138. So have your math book ready to rock and roll, and we are talking still about powers of 10. But if you remember, I had told you a couple lessons ago that every single number has a decimal. Like for example, this one here is 5.0. Now, if we were just writing 5, you'd probably just put 5. But in this case, they put the 5.0. And I'm going to show you why. Let's look. The diagrams below show patterns of the placement of the decimal point each time you multiply or divide the decimal by 10. I'm going to also underline multiply or divide a decimal by 10. We're going to get extremely good at this. Just give me 2 days and we're going to be a master at this. Complete the missing numbers in each diagram. The decimal for each missing number is already written for you. Okay. I don't know why they bothered to put the decimal. Well, we could do it, but that's fine. We'll do what they do. Now you'll notice over here, it's a times 10. Times 10, times 10. Over here is the divide by 10, divide by 10, divide by 10, divide by 10. So let's start. We know that's a 5. And we have to times 10. It's 5 times 10, 50. Point. I know it's already there, but I like to see it. 0. Okay. Now, how do we get to that bottom one? Let's look at the pattern. When we did our 5, we multiplied it by 10, and we moved the decimal point from a 5, boop, and put it right there to make it a 50. Using that pattern, except for we're going to make the number smaller when we divide. Makes sense, right? 50 divided by 10 is going to get you 5. If you divide by 10, it's going to get you, notice how it says 0.5. All they did was move that decimal, boop. Now it's in front of the 5. If you divide that by 10, boop, it's going to be 0.05, 0.05. And now if you divide that by 10, boop, put it right there, is going to be 0.005. And we'll put a 0 up there just for good measure. All right, now let's look at this one over here. Let's do our times 10s. We're going to start way down at the bottom and we'll work our way up. Times 10, times 10, times 10, times 10, times 10. You got to think of it as the number's getting bigger every single time we do it. Times 10, times 10, times 10, bigger, bigger, bigger. This is 0.27. Times 10, we're going to move the decimal point bloop, to make it bigger. And now we have 2.7. If you multiply that times 10, you're just moving the decimal point here to make it 27. If you multiply 27 times 10, you're just going to move the decimal point here to make it 270.0. And then it already gave it to us. If you move it again, you're going to get 2,700. Again, this concept is kind of out there, but in a couple of days, we're going to be an absolute master at this. Let's take a look at the other questions. Most of the time, you're not going to be given a chart. Most of the time, what you have to do is fill out something similar to this. Now, here's the first thing I have us do. Let me make sure it's all on camera. All right, we're good. We're good. Okay. First thing we have to do is let's look at what the symbols are. Multiply, multiply, divide, divide. Multiply, multiply, divide, divide. Okay. So when you're answering a question like this one, what is 5/10 times 100? We know the number's getting bigger. So we've got to go up the number line. We've got to go to the right. We got to go up the number line, right? So a number line could be like 0, 5, 10. We got to go up the number line to make it bigger. How many times do you move the decimal? The zeros will tell you. You move the decimal once, you move the decimal twice. So I take my 0.5 and I move it once and I move it twice and I put it right there. And you see how there's that little gap? Put a 0. So what's my answer going to be? 50. And you could say 0.0, that's fine. Okay. 5 tenths times 10 to the second power. Remember, that number tells you how many times to move the decimal. 0.5 times, so again, we're going to the right, we're going up the number line, and we're going to move it 2 times. Bloop, bloop. What do we have in there? Same thing, 50.0. Let's look at this one. Okay. 27 hundredths times 1,000. How many times are we going to move the decimal? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we put a 0 in that empty gap. See, the 2 goes in that gap, the 7 in that gap, and we got nothing there, so we got to put a 0. And what's my answer going to be when my decimal goes? It's going to be 2, 7, 0. 27 hundredths times 10 to the third power? 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Fill it in. 270. Same thing. Same thing. 3 zeros, 3. 2 zeros, 2. Let's go the other way down. Let's go the other way with division. Division, we are going to get smaller. If you take 5 and you divide it by 100, it's going to be pretty small. Like, if you think about it, I have 5 slices of pizza, but I have to feed 100 people. How much pizza is each person going to get? It's going to be this tiny little sliver of a piece. But let's get the exact amount. So this time, because we're dividing, we're going to move the decimal the opposite direction. We're going to go down the number line. We're going to get smaller, smaller, which means we go to the left. So with this one here, 5 divided by 100. Uh-oh, I don't see a decimal point. Remember, every number has a decimal point. It's just at the end. Bloop. And how many times are we going to move it? Once, twice, to the left. Why to the left? Because we're dividing. Once, twice, and you put that decimal right there, fill in that gap with a 0, 0.05. Same thing with this. Check it out. It tells you 2. How many times are we going to move the decimal point? 2 times. Decimal point goes there to make it 5.0. We move it once, twice, bloop, bloop, 0.05. Let's go to the other side. Now, let's take a little peek. Imagine this problem. 2,700 divided by 1,000. Mr. Cohen, it's not going to go in evenly. I know, but we're talking about powers of 10. So all we're doing is moving the decimal place. We're dividing, which means we're going to go to the left. And where is my decimal in 2,700? At the end. Don't forget that. How many times are we moving it? 1, 2, 3 to the left. Let's do it. 1, 2, 3. Put that decimal point right in there. So now we have 2.700. Now, yes, that's absolutely correct. But in reality, do you even need those zeros? No. If you wrote them, that's fine. Don't erase them. But just recognize it's 2 7/10. What you had written is 2 700 thousandths. I digress. Let's look at this one here. 2,710 to the third power. You guessed it. You're going to move the decimal 3 times. Which direction? We're dividing, so we got to get smaller. We got to go to the left. Decimal point goes there. 1, 2, 3. And we've got 2.7. Yes, I could add the zeros, but I just want to show you a different example. Hey, I mentioned we're going to look at the other page. We'll look at that in class tomorrow. Have a good night.